I'd like to introduce you to my favorite physical therapist, the Asics Gel Kayano 31. No, I wasn't in the hospital, but I was sidelined for a really long time, dealing with, well, let's be real, suffering from shin splints ever since the San Diego Marathon. Wasn't that way back in the beginning of summer? For those of you who stumbled onto my channel, I ran my very first marathon this year. I also love to run and review shoes, but I try to have fun with it and I don't take myself too seriously. So if you're into that, consider subscribing. So what the F happened? There's no mystery. My body's old and my brain's too stubborn to admit it. I won't bore you with the details. The point is, the last time I really got hurt, the Kayano 30s came to the rescue. With version 31, it's been just as much of a godsend for my rehab. Here's a quick recap of the Kayano. It went through some big changes in version 30, and some things you can't see anymore, like the pure gel. It's still there. It also got a new midsole with an eco-friendly version of the FF Blast Plus. It's a really nice responsive foam, and it's the same one that you can find in the Nova Blast and the Nimbus. Overall, I think version 30 looked pretty decent, except for this massive looking heel which screamed orthotics. I didn't give a crap at the time because I had runner's knee and I was willing to try anything to get better, no matter how janky it appeared. Now look at this new version. I don't think you'll feel the need to switch out of these shoes as soon as your workout is done. You might even be proud to wear them to pick up some groceries. The updates to the 31 were mostly cosmetic and in the upper. It's a slightly more breathable engineered mesh which closely resembles the one before it. Yet the step-in feel is even more cush if that's possible. It's a max cushion stability shoe and it's pure pampering for your feet. The biggest difference you'll notice is how the fabric around the ankle comes up above this silky, soft padding. It's something I love and I hope they never get rid of. I also like this nice elastic pull tab. Once you get down to the midsole, it's pretty much identical to version 30, but they did improve the outer design. It's not a bulbous mass that looks like you just stepped out of the orthopedist's office. They ombre'd some lipstick on this pig, and it doesn't look that bad. Yeah, I made up that word. It is of course a heavy shoe, slightly heavier than the version before this, adding almost a ½ ounce in my size. Let's not quibble about the weight. It's pointless because you should consider this shoe for its stability, and that's where it shines. The last time I reviewed the Kayano 30s, I got into the details of their new 4D guidance system, so I won't do that here. By the way, I still want to know what that fourth dimension is, so if you know, shout it down in the comments below. Like I said back then, the Kayano has been my go-to rehab shoe because of its stability. But the way it provides that support also makes it my preferred choice for those long, slow recovery runs. The foam that Asics uses for their 4D guidance system right here under the arch is slightly more dense than the rest of the midsole, but you'll only notice the disparity when you're jogging along at a very slow pace, one that you'd probably never keep. The beauty of this is that once you get up to your easy pace, you hardly notice it at all. What the different densities do for me is that it keeps me focused on how my foot hits the ground. You can skip this part about pronating, but I want to give you my reasoning on why I think this tech works. For most of us, when our foot lands, we naturally pronate a little bit. But for those who overpronate, that transfer of energy from the outer edge to the inner edge is much more dramatic, adding unnecessary stress up the leg. The purpose of the supportive arch is to minimize the severity of that out to in weight transfer. That dual density also brings my attention to how my foot lands initially, and it helps with my mechanics. In short, this design really helps me focus on landing my foot down the center axis and taking advantage of this 4D guidance system. That's when the midsole does its thing and you don't even realize you're wearing stability shoes. That's why I think these are great for recovery. The Kayanos take you back to basics and helps recalibrate your mechanics, which is perfect for my knees. I gotta save whatever I have left in my bones. That said, I don't think the Kayano will help the forefoot strikers as much because you'll be landing more in front of the supportive area of the shoe. Although the wide base might help a little bit. That's just my take. The FF Blast Plus Eco Foam really delivers cushion landings and solid rebound. It's not the top tier foam, but you're not really going to want to do fast efforts in these shoes. Also, the faster I ran, like 10K pace and faster, the more this foam fell flat during the toe off. Given all that, it's not a very versatile shoe, but it can get you through a tempo effort in a pinch. One last thing about the midsole. In my previous review, I said that I started to get a slappy sensation when my form started to fall apart. The transition isn't the smoothest, but I didn't get that clapping feeling on the ground, which is a big positive for those long recovery runs. Some of you asked last time whether or not the Kayano would work for larger volume feet. They do make these in wider sizes, but Asics tends to run narrow anyway, so I definitely recommend trying it out before you buy them. I have fairly narrow feet and there isn't that much wiggle room in these shoes, which I like. It's also got a new eco-friendly sock liner which helps create a more comfortable fit, and that could be the reason why it feels a little more snug and more cushioned at the same time compared to version 30. Finally, I want to mention the outsole quickly because there has been a minor update. There's still the AHAR Plus rubber on the heel, which is more dense than the rest of the midsole, so it'll be more durable. The change in the outsole is here on the top of the foot. It's a new material called Hybrid Asics Grip. It's a softer compound that gives added traction and better toe off, and I think it works. It helps the shoe turn over better, and it could explain why I never got that slappy feeling. It's a decent outsole built for the purpose of just cruising through those miles. I think the Gel Kayano 31 is a slight improvement over version 30. It's still that very comfortable shoe that provides a little extra stability that you didn't even know you needed or wanted. And for someone like me who's prone to getting an overuse injury, I like having the option of giving my body that extra stability when it's needed. The Kayanos are like vitamins. You know they work, but you just don't know how. If I'd taken my own advice and kept these in the rotation, maybe I could have avoided my shin splints. At least I like to think so. Ride or run, let's get it done.